Boom! Koyo rad. We just test fit it in the red Supra and it looked perfect. I think that's where it's gonna go. So I got these fittings all in here now. Now I can get the 3/8 lines into it. It's much bigger than factory cooler. And because this car has, when I got it, the air conditioning was deleted, it's gonna fit nicely right in front of the rad. So I'm gonna mount that up in there, get the oil cooler set up. So now basically we just gotta mount this, set up the hard lines, bend them all into place, flare in, and hook it all up. So we're gonna have hard lines going straight to basically up to the block. I'm just gonna have a short little hose. The thing I think I find funny is this is made in Canada. Also the 3/8 line that I got that I'm bending for the hard lines made in Canada. So he's gonna have a Canadian oil cooler. And have ice cold Canuck oil. How about that? So basically we're talking about coolers here. We're trying to cool off the engine. Keep everything from overheating, you know. So we want it to be safe. We want it to be reliable. We want it to be almost like OEM. So we're going to do, we're going to put hard lines straight to the cooler on this thing. And then there's going to be a little short rubber hose that goes from the engine to the cooler lines here. So this is just something quick I bent up with a coat hanger just to see where it's going to go. So we're going to take this 3/8 line. We're going to bend it into this basically. There. This will also simulate the exact same bends we're going to be doing. So as far as I can tell, this right here would almost be perfect. Basically, it's going to run along the frame rail, and there's just going to be this little downs pipe, basically, which is going to connect to the transmission, not transmission, the engine cooler line. So basically, another thing we're going to have to do is put the intercooler pipe in there, because it is very tight. So we want to make sure everything fits without getting in each other's way. So this is going to come in here. Probably just bolt it right up for the time being. Busting up the bag, fresh. So yeah, this one doesn't have spot for a cooler, so I guess that black one's gonna have to stay in the purple car. I don't know what I'm missing here though. Weird. I need a plug. Koyo! This is somewhere at. So right here, it's gonna be a little bit tight to fit some lines in there. They have to be right tucked up tight against the fucking frame rail. So we're just trying to situate stuff here, and I've noticed they're very, very close. So we got our oil cooler line all made up. About to flare this so the nut stays on there and be ready to mount. Drill a couple holes. I'm gonna try to get some riv nuts to mount the P-clamps. This is basically gonna sit right in there, go from the bottom of the cooler, drain back out to the oil pan. Gonna ride the frame rail here. Basically it's just gonna sit in here like this, nice and snug. I'm probably gonna take the oil drain off of the oil pan, maybe heat it up and straighten it a bit so that it comes in line with this, and that's just gonna go right into the oil pan. And by doing this, we're not going under the rad support. We're gonna keep the level at the oil level at the same height as the cooler. Hopefully that should save us with any issues in the future with oiling. Nice hard lines, no leaks. We're hoping that this will be a solid, reliable setup. So I'm just about to flare these up here. Got my buddy's tool. It's pretty fancy, almost too fancy for me. I don't even know how I feel about it. It's a hydraulic one. Put these little blocks in there. You're supposed to just tighten this up, and it's like, really? These little blocks don't line up good. I don't like this at all. My buddy keeps saying, oh, this is the best tool out there for this. I mean, sometimes the simple original tools are the best tools, you know? Like, you don't need to overcomplicate things. Like, this stupid little block is not grabbing the line properly. It's fucking going cockeyed for some fucking reason. It's pinching my line crooked. Stupid fancy fucking tools, man. That's a 1/2 inch. Here we got the 3/8 one, so let's stick this in here. Basically, now you gotta line this hydraulic little pump up to the hole. And he's all telling me, oh yeah, this is the best tool there, it does the perfect flare every time. And I'm like, well, if you use the old school, original shit properly, you get the best flare every time. Depends. Now use the pointed one. thing's pretty neat. I mean, like, it does everything you want it to do, right? It does up to the big stuff, and I'm sure some harder materials, this thing would be a lot better, but honestly, I think my friend overpaid for this tool. Look at that. Can't even get the nut all the way to the end. I gotta force it because the little two blocks pinched it funny. It almost like ovaled, egg-shaped the hole kind of thing. So basically this is kind of how it's gonna go. It seems a little tight. We're basically gonna come off over here. Basically, like I was saying, we're gonna probably bend that a little bit that way to point towards it, and then just be a straighter run. So I'm only gonna have a short piece of hose on here. It's gonna be a lot less to worry about. I'll be able to just, you know, come over here, peek down at my hoses. So basically, it's coming across, it's going straight down. Not sure how I'm gonna mount those yet. I might try to get some riv nuts, and I'll just drill a hole. Good to go. This is gonna be tight, so shouldn't vibrate or nothing once it's all bolted in there. Probably gonna put the P-clamp a little closer. Maybe run 3 instead of 2. So we got our feed line pretty well made up. Just going to flare it, install it, and then we're gonna make every final last touch there. We're gonna mount it up with some P-clamps. Get the last touches in there, and then send oil through it. does that. I gotta like grab some pliers and work it a little bit. Seems to make a nice flare though. But these things, I don't know why they do that. They're like almost ovaled. Yeah, look at the hole is oval. These aren't really. These could have been machined better. I guess when they cut them in half, they didn't account for the width of the cut. If that was spaced out a bit better. I mean, it grabs it really nice, but it's like too aggressive. Like it fucking almost ovalized the hole. Didn't really ovalize the hole, but the pipe, right where the nut has to go on, I'm gonna have to grab some pliers and like brandish it a little bit, fucking round it a little bit. Get the nut to go around it. So from this to this, basically had to massage it a little bit. Couldn't really get the bender. Bender wasn't really working good, so I started just giving her the old leg bend to get a nice gradual up to the cooler. Should work, that's all that counts, right? Like I said, this one's all the way up. I don't know why the thing pinches it so much like that. I'm just gonna give it a little pinch. There you go. Okay, so basically I just had to grab it with the pliers, brandish it a little bit because it wouldn't go all the way on. Now it will, so gotta make sure it's gonna go all the way on, and there's your cooler lines. So we got our final test fitting going on. Everything's working out perfectly. Basically, we got enough clearance everywhere. Everything's good, even if that shakes a little bit. I can stick my finger between there, so. The intercooler's gonna try to use this mount, and this mount. We're gonna have to fabricate something, because this thing was dangling. You can see this has been bouncing around. The top has 3 bolts, so we're gonna have to mount it. That bracket I'm gonna make on those 3 bolts, and then to the top 3 bolts of here. So that's the next project. So it's getting late. I'm in the garage still, just installing these last 2 riv nuts. Then I put a little bit of zinc primer. So I got the 3 riv nuts in there. Just gonna mount my hard lines and hold them. And then I've got 2 riv nuts in there. It's gonna hold that. Got this bracket welded on to the cooler that bolts into a factory location. This bolts onto the back of this, which is a factory location, so it's all good to go. It's gonna be nice and snug and tight and perfect.